Nate North entered the lobby of the New Albany branch of Scioto Regional Bank. He wore a short-sleeved shirt and a tie, and he waved at the tellers as he clumped across the marble floor and headed for the hall that led back to the bank president's secondary office. North confirmed his appointment with the secretary and pushed the partially open oak door. "Hey, Bob," Nate said. Bob Zellman looked up over a computer monitor, then moved it aside. "Good to see you, Nate. Have a seat." North sat in a leather chair positioned in front of the desk. "You know, I think it's pretty cool that a bank CEO takes the time to sit down with old customers and help them get loans to keep their businesses growing." Zellman smiled. "You know, Nate, your dad was one of my first clients when I started here many years ago. Even as I moved up the ladder, I tried to keep tabs of some of my original customers. I always thought it was a good way to stay in touch with the heart of Scioto Regional's business. Unfortunately, North Fab is the last one remaining from back then." "Really? That's really sad." Zellman nodded. "The Powell bookstore closed last month after 42 years in business. It broke my heart." North sighed. "I heard about it." He scratched the back of his neck. "Let's make sure North Fab doesn't go that way, so let's get down to brass tacks, Bob. What kind of rate are we looking at for this loan?" Zellman leaned back in his leather chair and folded his hands on his belly. "I'm sorry to tell you this, Nate, but I can't approve this loan." North thrust his chin forward and scowled. "What? How come? North Fab has never missed a payment with you guys in 60 years. Zellman sighed. "I know, but it has come to my attention that you're having a labor problem." "A labor problem? No, Bob, it's under control." Zellman shook his head. "I'm sorry, Nate, but banking regulators are leaning on all of us in the industry to avoid loans to businesses with labor troubles. Mine has been talking to the machined and fabricated metal parts czar, and she thinks you are a high-risk borrower until things are resolved beneficially." "What the hell does that mean? Are you saying that if I let the unions in, I can get a loan, and if I don't, I can't?" "I don't think it's quite that cut and dried, Nate. If I hired non-union replacements, will that be good enough? Would it settle the strike problem? Well, no, it probably wouldn't. But none of the strikers would be North Fab employees anymore." Zellman just stared. "Do you agree with this crap, Bob?" "Listen, Nate, regulators were around long before I was in banking. But as long as banks are part of our monetary system, and as long as our economy is built on lending and debt, regulators will require us to comply with governmental policies and objectives. I don't make the rules, but I do have to follow them. I gave up judging them long ago." North hung his head. "I've got that contract with Honda. It's a huge contract. You've seen it. I need new equipment to fulfill it. I gave you all the prices on the new machinery and everything. I gotta have this loan, Bob, or I'm gonna have to let that contract go." Zellman shrugged his shoulders. "What do you want me to do, Nate? My regulator says don't lend, so I can't." "Seriously, Bob, you're a smart man. If I agree to the union's demands, my labor pricing is out of whack, and this contract's a big loser. That would put you at risk. If I get new workers, it'll be a breeze. And once I start hiring new guys, I think half the old ones will come back." "I'm sorry to say that's your problem, not mine." North shook his head. "This isn't America, Bob. It really isn't. A company that has been a slam-dunk sure thing for 60 years that wants a small loan to fulfill a signed contract can't get it because a banking regulator doesn't like its labor policies. It's more American than you realize, Nate. Please tell me you don't agree with this, Bob." "Let me repeat, Nate. I gave up judging any of this long ago." Nate buried his head in his hands. The situation seemed hopeless. With the economy getting soft, work was getting harder and harder to find, and he really needed the Honda contract. Without the loan, he would have to let it go. "I feel like I'm standing at the edge of a deep, dark hole," he said. Zellman looked across his desk at the frustrated small business owner and scratched his chin. "You're not the only one," he thought. Okay, and that's the end of July of 2029. As you might guess, next week we will move on to August of 2029. But let me just take a second to explain why the chapters are named that way. My editor and I decided that to help readers, or in this case listeners, keep pace with what the time frame is and have a sense of how time is moving along, that just simply naming the chapters after when they occur would probably be the neatest and cleanest way to do that. So instead of some sort of clever title name for each of the chapters, we decided to simply use the month and the year. So anyhow, if you're enjoying this and you would like to purchase a copy of it, it's available both in paperback and as an ebook. You can find The Eagle Has Crashed at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Clear Peak Press, the Sony Store, the iTunes Store, Smashwords.com, and other retailers. So hopefully you have a pleasant week, and we'll get back together again next Sunday. Have a nice day. See ya.